got an interesting video for you guys today. So we're going to do a training video with one of my clients, Erik. So I'm going to show you all of his training day. Then we're going to come back and we'll do some Q&A on Zoom. So stick around after the training video for some really good questions. But let's get right into the training video. How you feel? You feel?
Feel better.
Good, good.
Yeah.
You get something to eat?
Yep.
Good, good.
Eat some breakfast. Eat some good stuff. Get the pre-workout.
Yeah. So it's like
where you find a $6 million house.
But if you were able to as your dream house, save up and either inherit money or something, whatever.
You got to think of the long term.
Exactly.
$6 million house, no matter where you are. I mean, how much is the taxes here?
Taxes on it. Yeah, I mean, I know with this property, it's like 12 G's a year taxes, which is like $1,000 a month, just for taxes.
For a big house.
Yeah. For this house. This house.
12?
Yeah.
It's like what I'm paying in New York. How is that possible? And I'm thinking about moving to Texas.
Carbs dirty, which the thing is, the way I do it is I fill up a half gallon full of this. What's up, you guys? James Strickland here. So I'm going to bring you guys a different video today. I've got my client Erik from New York in today. He came down for the weekend. I really appreciate it. We're going to be working up just on his bench press. He's actually got a personal best of 440. 441. Yep. 441.
200 kilograms.
At what age?
At 47.
47 years old. You're 49 now?
49.
So almost 50 years old, guys.
50.
That's kicking it. If I can be at that level when I'm 50, I'm going to be happy. So we're basically just we met last year at the Arnold.
Yep.
When the Arnold was kind of not the Arnold, and he asked me to kind of critique his bench and work with him. So I've been working with him for about a year. We've been working on a lot of technical stuff, but obviously online coaching is a little different. You can't see things that on video that you normally can see in person. So we thought, come on down. We're working out in my Deep End 2.0 at the house, and we're going to head over afterwards and work on some accessories here at a local gym. But I think it just would be more beneficial to have him come down and kind of see firsthand what he's working with, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, because like I always say, you're only as strong as your weakest link. We want to find the weak link. We want to target them. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually how you get stronger. So we're going to work up to whatever we can do today. We're going to talk about the lifts. We're going to talk about technique. Maybe give you a little tour of the gym. Shout out to some sponsors. And after obviously the video, we'll wrap it all up and we'll do some Q&A, and you guys can submit those later. But let's go ahead and get into the warm up. I mean, we've already heels planted in?
Yep.
Okay. Like my whole plan is I'm trying to everything is kind of set up here. I'm trying to get because everything the whole press is literally from here to here. Here down is just keeping me literally from doing this. And when I initiate the press, I want to be able to just have a very small, I don't want my body to move. So in order to keep it from moving, right now I'm able to shift. As soon as I get my shoulders set, wherever I'm going to be at, that's why I do this quite a bit, is as soon as I drop my butt, if I was to try to move, it's almost counterproductive to try to move, because it's taking a lot of energy to try to push myself out of position. But so the plan is to get here as tight as possible, to where as soon as I do this, I can't, like, any side to side movement doesn't really move me out of position. And so it becomes, and as soon as I let the bar go, everything kind of loosens up. I'm able to really just, it's almost, just doing that used a lot of energy, just setting it up. So you get used to it, but the wasted energy that you would have correcting during lift isn't there anymore. It becomes very minimal because you're so tight. But I wouldn't change up too much today. I'll just obviously critique things, but
that's what I usually do. I usually just get my hands in the post. I don't have the flexibility either.
Yeah, but
So then I just try to get my back,
Yep.
square it in, get the lats pushed in.
So as soon as you do that,
and now I'm tight.
don't let anything in here move as soon as you let an arm go. And now flex your quad just slightly to pull all this up. And don't, yeah. The only thing that moves is that. Boom. Notice if when you're going through the reps how it gets a little looser,
Yes.
that's okay. It's just not letting it. A lot of people will and then just get loose and assume, oh, I have to be loose for the next rep. Well, the next rep is a totally different rep because you're not in the same position. So the whole point is making it to where everything is. They talk about locking your scapula and really pulling your lats down. That's what you're basically doing, is setting your shoulders to where they have a solid foundation. I mean, basically just doing that, and then as soon as you grab the bar, squeeze down, and it just makes everything flex. Feel stable? Pretty good?
Bench is great.
Yeah. Is that about the same width as the
Yep.
pad you have? So are you bracing up against the belt?
Yep.
So it's pulling your back? Okay. So on your wrist, do you feel like they're back? Do you know where they're at? So on here, actually do a rep. I'm gonna take a picture of your wrist so you can see. Just do one single rep, and I'll get it. Yep, got it. So on the see how it's right here?
Yep.
And then right there, the bar ideally should be, your wrist should be turned forward to where instead of it being, and at this weight it's not going to really matter, but so the difference is here, well, it's like that basically is what it kind of looks like versus like that. And the difference is here, if I do this, I've just put a lot of pressure on my wrist, which if the wrist wrap is tight, you're not even going to feel it. But at a max weight, it's easier for this to want to roll back. And you can't correct it unless you, which if you do that, you might as well have been in that position anyways. So like that is the strongest position.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a lighter weight. I'm doing it like that.
Well, as we go up, it might change. I figured
I usually try to get it. I usually try to get it on the meat.
Well, so when you do suicide, you're almost forced to do that because you can't correct it with a suicide grip as much. Like you're here, it's gonna fall out. So you almost get used to it. But here, it's like it's already stacked. It's almost like all I gotta do is just hold it. If I roll back now, I just put a lot of pressure on the front of my wrist here, and I feel like it's straightening it.
Yep.
Now at 135, it's nothing. Throw a couple extra 100 pounds on there, it starts really straining it, which again, if you're used to it, you're not even gonna feel it, but that's using energy because you're having to support your hand with these ligaments to hold it in place. When if you just did that, this is all relaxed.
Like the knuckles.
Yeah, it's just relaxed. So it's literally just sitting there. And as long as the bar doesn't do this or do that, your wrist actually never has to do any kind of work. It's just holding it in place. But well, I mean, I wouldn't focus on that too much. Just it's something I noticed.
Yeah, maybe watch when I get a little bit heavier. I think I might correct it a little bit.
I'm guessing you will because it's going to be harder and harder to hold that if it's not in the correct position. It's kind of like with a squat. If you're leaning over like a good morning, you can bet that you're using more energy to do this the tighter you grab the bar, you'll notice it sends a signal to the rest of your body. Oh shit, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Like even just coming over and grabbing the bar, if I just go, man, it just sent a chill up my body. It's almost like, oh, it's go time. It's almost like that you're tightening it from the start of the grip. It tightens everything down, and as you start to try to bend the bar, obviously the bar's not gonna bend, but you're doing this motion tells your lats, we gotta do something to help the arms try to move this bar. And then once you get in a position, you just lock, then the rep is one fluid, solid motion. And you get lift off on this one. And mind you, you're still, right now, you're having to lift off an extra 6 inches or so in motion. How's that feel?
A little better.
So, does it feel different than 225 back home?
No.
Okay. I know with me, sometimes kilos will mess with my head because the center of gravity is not quite the same.
Yeah.
But it's honestly 100% your head. It really is.
How was the helmet?
I think, yeah, you're good. It corrected a little bit better. Warm? Are you do you feel like your shoulder joints are warm right now?
You're getting there, yeah.
Okay. Because I know with me, especially like I'm not used to the cold. You are a little more. The other day, what I would do like between these sets is I grab just a light band, nothing that, because something like this is not even that much resistance.
Yep.
Just sitting there like this, just to keep the shoulder. I mean, I can feel my shoulders already warming up. Or like triceps, because those will. You haven't really used the triceps yet because we haven't put any real weight on it. Just keeping those warm. The other thing was like on lats, to keep the lats good is like a straight arm.
Yep.
And just, it's easy. It's not even doing anything, but it's keeping the muscle warm. And they're even like face pull. This one actually really opens my traps up and everything, which you don't think, bench, but just pulling that can really make a difference when you're actually doing, do you feel it?
Yeah.
It doesn't take much. I mean, it's literally like 5 reps, and then that's enough every few minutes.
Definitely tight.
So yeah, you want to be loose. Well, you want to be loose during the rep. You want to be tight, but for warm-up purposes, because we haven't really done anything crazy, you don't want to feel
really tight.
Do you, when you're benching, do they seem to hinder it?
Yeah.
So another thing I do.
Foam roller.
Oh, I use a PVC. I go crazy with it, but that, a lot of people
you probably crush a foam roller.
A lot of people ask me, like when I warm up for a bench, why the first thing I typically do after I hit my arms is I'll do this. I'll roll out my quads. I'll roll out my IT bands, and then I'll even flip over and like roll my hamstrings out. And then another thing that really helps is I'll roll my back, and I'm not trying to like massage it or like hurt it. I'm just doing this breaks up some of the tissues in there, just warms it up. Doing this will like actually open up the shoulder blades and the rotators, and then even that, like if you're really tight, you'll even crack your back doing it. And just like that lower back sometimes will tighten up while you're benching, or if you get a cramp in your back, this is the best thing. Just get it out and then go on to the next set. I mean, just doing this right here has helped me to loosen up my back, so that I never, like since I've been doing this for the last 3 years, not once have I gotten a cramp in my legs on bench. And that was a horrible problem for years. I'd go to, because you're using your legs, you don't even know it. You get a cramp, now all of a sudden you're worried about that cramp. You're like, oh,
the glue lock up.
You just messed up. All your energy went to focusing on the cramp.
So me a lot doing dumbbells.
Yeah.
So I would keep the dumbbells up doing like inclines. I'd be like 3 or 4, and then all of a sudden that right quad would just lock up. And I'm sitting there trying to finish a rep, you stretch the leg out. You lose the groove, people looking at you like, what are you doing?
And then like, not really so much on one rep. I have been known to like, I'll get out of the groove, and if you get out of the groove and your back isn't 100% warm, now all of a sudden you just put all that pressure on that one spot. You get up, you're like, well, roll out, stretch it. I mean, it loosens it all up, where I've come back and even done better on the next rep, heavier, because I stretch my guys. Let's just see how they feel. I want to conserve energy because I want to see how far we can push the limit without going, crazy. But also because we've skipped to 185, you should have more energy. So taking that into consideration, I mean, each one of those reps takes a little bit out of the tank, and it does mean something. But because they're lower, the more like for warm-ups, my philosophy, and this is not my idea, this is years before me, but I do the bar for 150 reps, it doesn't burn me out. Do 135 for 50 reps, it's not going to burn me out. The 225 of 10 or 15 reps starts to take a toll. 315 of more than a couple reps starts to take a toll. So if I'm still not warm after 315, for me, I'll either do a lot of band work or I'll strip the bar back down and do 135 again. Because as soon as I get up to 315 range, I'm already in the strength phase. So, lift off on this?
Nah, okay.
Lift off and get it set, and then just plow right through it. Yep. Grip the hell out of that bar. Yep. On that one, the thing I noticed was you grab the bar and then you kind of loosen it. Just a hair. I don't know if it was just a twitch or what, but
when I went to pick it up, I wasn't set right.
Okay.
I couldn't get off the pin.
Okay.
So I should have probably took a lift.
We're good. Because that little thing on like a max effort could make or break it. Just because that little slip, even though you actually didn't get out of position, but because you didn't go, Dad, I'm gonna tighten this shit up again, it allowed that shoulder to stay just a hair loose, which at this weight, no big deal. 450 on the bar, that little slip could mean the difference between at that last second you're not going to have that press because you're not already, you have to re-grip it. I did a meet a couple years ago where I was doing like my own lift-offs, and then I went to the meet and got a lift-off, and it threw me out of position because when you do your own lift-offs, you're getting your shoulders in set.
I don't know how you do it with the weight.
It's like with anything, you get used to it. You get slowly used to it over time.
You must have your pin height so high.
That's what it is. But when I move out, I'm trying to minimize the lateral movement because that takes energy. Plus, you don't want to be moving back straight.
You're not getting your shoulders out just by taking that little.
No, because what I do is when I set up for, let's say I'm getting a lift off, I set up right here. Notice how far my eyes are literally right under the bar.
Yep.
So I've set up here, and I'm expecting them to put the bar here. So I don't have to do this in Skull Crusher.
Yep.
I'm just like, all right, 1, 2, 3,
So when you do your own lift.
So when I do my own, I set up where my eyes, and I know, about where I'm at. So literally when I'm lifting off, and actually
you're just picking it straight up.
I'm literally just doing this.
And you gotta move.
So I'm already here, and all I gotta do is this.
Yep.
So the bad thing is the bar ends up being right here. So it's just trial and error. I've learned to just put it right here, so when I come down, I don't hit this.
Yep.
But I've been known to set up on my own and go, oh, and start hitting this. But it's just, over time, you just perfect your own thing. So my next meet, if I'm only doing this, I'm gonna do my own lift off. Now, lift off versus hand off or whatever, same, there's a difference. There's a lift off and bring it out. There's a lift off to help you just get it off the pins and save some energy and then step back. If I'm at a meet where I'm actually going for a max rep and I've been doing my own lift offs, then all I'm gonna do is say, just push it out a hair. Don't give me a full lift off because I'm used to doing my own. But mentally, having them help kind of thinks, okay, they've helped me a little bit. So I don't want to just be on the platform on my own trying to lift 700 plus, because it's gonna want to go back.
So what's the most you did in that meet? What, 672?
672. The most I've done without a liftoff, 640. So you know, but it's.
And how do you find the guys in the meets? Like, you know, all the different meets you do.
Well, that's the other thing is if you don't have the same guy lifting off for you in training as you do in a meet, you gotta tell them, like in the warm-up room,
yeah,
come on back, 135, lift off. Nope, I want it like this. And don't be afraid to be like, this is how I want my lift off. There's no correct way to give a lift off. It's what the lifter needs.
When you're at some of these big meets, you're never gonna get.
Well,
you know,
yeah,
you're never gonna get the guy that's up there in the platform to come back and lift. I mean,
I had a lift off at
like
the gym out here a couple years back, and it was like 6 something on the bar, and I had a 3-person lift off. Never again, because they all couldn't time properly. I had one guy in the back lifting off, 2 guys on the sides lifting off, and it ended up doing this. And I was like, oh, let it go. Okay, set, and I ended up, you know, completing the rep and everything, but it was ugly because it was all over the place.
how many do? 1, 2, 1.
However you want it.
No, how many reps?
Oh, just one. Act like it's 400 pounds on the bar.
Nice.
Perfect. Perfect.
How's the hands?
Good, good. It looked like an empty bar.
Yeah.
So does that make you feel better seeing it than feeling it? So that's.
But it didn't feel that heavy.
It should know. It was fine. But I know, like when I'm doing my warm-ups, especially, my mind will play tricks on me. I'm like, man, I felt cold, I felt slow, I felt sluggish, I didn't hit right. You start playing all these things in your head, and then you watch it, and you're like, oh, I'm not even worried about that. Throw an extra 100 pounds on it. You know, it gets kind of crazy how that works. But even at a meet, I have a camera guy. If I can, I'm like, here's my phone, just video this lift so I can look at it. As soon as I'm done with the lift,
Go back to the warm-up?
I'm like, no, I'll get off the platform and I'll go to the camera. I'm like, hey, let me look at it real quick. Because they want you a minute to do your next attempt. And to make myself feel more confident or to know, oh, that was slow, I need to go down, whatever. I'll look at it and I'm like, oh, yeah, go up, boom. And I go back to the warm-up room and I wait, I'm like, good to go because everything felt really, really good.
What's that? Another?
I'll get it for you. Oh my God. No, don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna waste energy.
Stretch me out.
Don't do it. Stretch out on the bands. Let me cater this. Trust me, it's a mindset thing. When you know 100% of your energy went into benching and not anything else, you're gonna be fine. At this point, little things like the bands do a big job with your warm-ups.
Plus, you can be like Swim Hack was racking my weights.
Right? Hey, by the way, nobody else on the planet has ever benched on this rack other than me until today.
Really?
Just saying. Or used my bars at any point in time. I
feel honored.
I never, it's not like I never
physically feel honored.
But I literally,
Thank you.
am I right though?
Yeah,
You hear me?
I benched on it.
Oh.
Oh, you know what? You're right. But none of the non-swim hack brands.
No, but you're above him. So.
I can bench more than PP and I just don't let anybody know that.
Nice.
So next week when we do bench presses, what's up? Against the movable object is going to wake up some of the muscles that are just kind of not quite there. But I set that up. And then how do you pecs feel? Okay. One other thing that I like is I'll do this.
Yep.
It's just it doesn't. I'm talking about 5-10 pounds.
You do the reverse one too? Yeah.
Reverse. Hit the rear delts. Hit the front for the pecs. Because we're getting to the point now to where your drive off your chest can make or break the lift. So I want you to literally think, fucking boom, like this is go time. It's not a no slow anything. It's take the bar, control, and then just fucking push a truck off you. And that's gonna you're using everything at this point. So from now to the end of the workout, you're literally, all of this has gotta be firing at 100%. All of this has gotta be controlled so you're not moving up and down laterally, and your pecs gotta be ready to just boom. Alright.
Come on.
Get your mind right. Just down and up, that's it. That's all it is. Grab the shit out of the bar. As soon as you get your shoulder set, before you get the lift off, Squeeze the bar, don't let it go until it re-wraps. Yes. Yes. Perfect. Now you're starting to feel the rep more. That's because we're bumping it up a little bit. Say, for example, when I'm doing my warm-ups up to whatever, I'm like, oh. When it get, there's a certain point, and it depends on the day, what I ate, all sorts of stuff, where the weight that I feel this at changes. But I've learned to, I feel it, I'm like, oh crap.
No, I didn't feel. I felt.
Okay.
Well, felt good.
What I'm saying is, you're going to get to that point at some point today. That's the point.
Yep.
When you get to that point, it's just your body going, oh shit, it's go time. That's all it is. It's not
Waking up.
I'm weak. I used to think that. I used to be like, oh, it's starting to slow down. Because you've got weight on the bar. I mean, it's not people assume that you're going to move your max rep like you do 315 or whatever. No, there's a point to where it's not going to move as fast because it's max weight. The thing is, I want to make sure that your mind isn't defeating itself before it's premature. Because your mind should not even be the limiting factor. I'm just trying to understand
how my body,
the physical side. You're moving. I want to make sure, because I can't see your mind. I want to make sure mentally you're not going, shit, how did that feel? Which is another reason why I'm not telling you how much weight's on the bar, because I know with me, if I know what the weight is, I mean, if I'm warming up and it feels bad, like next week's a deload for me, and so like it'll be 200 pounds less than I did this week, but knowing that I'm not preparing the same way, the weight feels twice as heavy. I'm already defeating myself if I go into the workout, so I have to bring it all the time. Like, okay, I don't care what the weight is, I've got to perfect the rep. And then that's why when you look at the reps now, not that they're technically perfect, but a lot of people go, man, how do your reps look technically perfect from the start to the finish? It's because I don't let the reps break me down. I make it to where, now don't get me wrong, they physically get harder as the rep sets go on. That's the way your body's designed. But to make the technical aspect of the lift perfect all the time, it starts in the very beginning of the workout and it just carries through. And each set goes on. I'm not gonna tell you how much that was, but you're gonna be happy with how that will move. So we'll move up and just keep going. Just make sure you get the same amount of rest that you normally get between sets.
The ISO?
Yeah, let's do that, but not yet. I'm gonna do it. Give yourself maybe 2 or 3 more minutes with the rest. Because how do you feel like? Do you feel like you could go into another set right now?
Probably, yeah.
So maybe a couple minutes, just to give yourself time to recover. We'll hit an ISO. That'll take some energy out of you, so we'll kind of recover from that, and then we'll go in and hit another bench. But the ISO will make the sticking point that you typically have almost disappear. That's the whole goal, is to make that, because your body gets to that point, and that's the weak spot. We counteract it by forcing you to use more speed or more power right before you get to that spot, so that it's the speed bump. It's like a car, rolling over a speed bump. It's not gonna like just rolling it. There's no speed bump. Well, if I go into it like this, the only way to get it over that is to go faster. Well, the faster you go, the less that speed bump is perceived. It's still there. I have a speed bump.
You're just going to transition to it faster.
You just get into it faster and you roll over it faster. That way, by the time you perceive it, the lift is already over. And you're like, oh crap, that was easy. Well, yeah, because you went through it faster. But it's easier said than done, I get it, but that's where they talk about speed work. Speed, bands, working the triceps. But a lot of people assume that a lift is just power the whole way. Why? That's too much. That's a lot of energy. I mean, get it over as quickly as possible so that you're done with it. Doesn't mean that you could add 50 pounds if it was easy. It just means you made the lift that used to be hard by muscling it technically smoother and made the lift easier. So what we're doing here is an isometric press, and so this is done to basically force your body into a state of strength that you couldn't normally do with a barbell because you're limited by your range of motion or your current strength or weak spot. And the best thing to do is to find your sticking point, which is where the bar typically slows down. And that sometimes it's 5 inches up, sometimes it's right before lockout, some people call pin presses. So Erik's is actually about 4.5 to 5 inches above his chest. That's where the bar is visibly where it slows down. 5 to 6 inches is where it visibly slows down. So we set the pins up to where they don't move. The barbell he's going to push with 100% efficiency, or try to get to 100% efficiency, maximum force into the bar, into the pins. It's not going to move, and we'll hold it for 5-6 seconds. Any longer than that is too much. You're actually going to be straining yourself. You want to make sure that you're trying to literally, and you make sure your squat rack is weighted down or it's bolted down, because you will put enough force in it typically to pick the squat rack up or to move it around and get dangerous. But the idea is to push against an immovable object as hard as you can, which will activate some of the weak spots that you have. And then when you actually get under a barbell, it makes that feel easier. So let's do setup right below the pin, and then right there, perfect form. Everything, you're setting up literally your shoulders and everything the same way. Push 5 seconds as hard as you can. Break the damn pins. All right, good. Normally we could go a little longer, but we're gonna go up in weight, and I don't want to use too much energy for this. 1 to 2 reps on this. 1 rep singles only. Don't ever try to do a rep and reset immediately because you're too tired. The best way to do it is just singles, 1 to 2, maybe once a week when you're working up heavy. I wouldn't do it if you're just doing a bunch of reps, because it's like doing a slingshot or overload all year round. It's got a purpose, it's got a time and a place. Erik is going heavy today, so this is a good time to do some isometrics, and I would do it right before your main set, because it actually will allow him, he put more pressure into this bar than he's going to have on the barbell at any point in time today. So he's already got his body ready, even though he doesn't know it. So the weakest part of your lift is what you just put almost 600, I'm guessing 600 pounds of force into. So if you had 450 on the bar, there's no reason that you technically aren't strong enough for it. It's the speed aspect.
Yes.
So here what you did is, instead of work like band works with speed, because you're having to literally push past that point with full effort, because if you try to coast in with bands, they're going to pull you back down. So they get progressively heavier or more resistance as you get up higher on the
bands.
bench.
You definitely feel it as soon as you hit that point.
Yep.
It's like,
yeah,
it's on.
So this one is just another method to almost kind of trick your body into doing something that you know you can't move it, but you try anyways. You're recruiting 100% effort. It's like moving a house.
You feel everything just lightning bolts going down your arms, into your chest, into your back.
Yep.
It's just, you know.
So it should feel like you just did a rep.
Oh.
So we'll take.
I was actually dizzy when I got up.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we'll take the same amount of time as you would as if we just did a max effort lift to rest, and then we'll hit the barbell and we'll go.
Come on.
Tight, tight, tight. Remember, just grip the shit out of the bar. Don't let it go until it's rattled. Tight. Oh yeah. Yes, sir. Come on. Let's go. Drive it. Drive it. Drive it. Push like the bar.
Side.
Yep, it's all you lost positioning on here. When the actual watch right here, as soon as it goes out and flares right before the bar tries to come back down. And right there, and then right here, flare.
Yep.
Flare, and then that's where it
So I went
stops.
from here to here.
So when that happens, the thing is, you're grabbing the hell out of the bar anyway, so the bar is always being just tight. As soon as that happens, it's this. Instead of this, it's that. So you're literally you're bending the bar this way, and it wants to come out. You just correct it like that to push it. I mean, it's one of those things where when it happens, being able to react fast is going to save it. Had it been a perfect rep, the strength is already going up. That was 420. So the way that it moved was already there, but that and then the fact that you have a sticking point, that's already going to be a weak spot, which this just exasperated it a little bit. I still think we should take it again though. But just think, when you're coming off your chest, speed also helps to get past that point, because you never have to, like here, if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have to put 100% effort right here, and if you lose any tightness, then it's over. But if you're able to get past that point and then lose tightness, well, you already passed it. It's over. Like it's in the past. So that's where the speed makes a difference in just passing that speed bump up. But if you're going to muscle the rep, then you have to have perfect technique, or else you're going to lose it because of a technical issue.
One thing gives out, you're done.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've gotten really good now. Mind you, I'm 100 pounds less than my max when I did this the other day, but when I lost it, I was able to go, nope, and correct it. Now, 100 pounds less, that'd be like you doing it with 340, 350. So you could do that. If I got up to 650 plus, you're not going to see me going, there we go, and finishing the rep. If I lose it, it's always, oh crap. And then what do you do at this point? A brute strength won't move it. It's got to be flawless technique to make it, I mean, especially when you're 99% of your max. I mean, you have to have the technique. So it's not a strength. Strength would help because it will help you to mask the technical issues. But at some point when they come together, that's what adds weight. So like when you have a perfect day and your technique is perfect and your strength is there, you see 20, 30 pounds go on your PR, you're like, where has this been? It's because it was a perfect storm. And those are rare. You don't, I mean, it would take a perfect storm for Julius to bench 800. It takes a perfect storm for me to bench 700. It's not that I've failed if I go and try to do 650 and I'm like, oh, that's 20 pounds less than my max. What's wrong? I've been fighting this for 2 years. Like, it seems like one thing after another. But you got to realize when you get in that threshold of 90% of your max, your body's going, when are we gonna take a break, man? What's going on? No matter how long, an 8-week, 10-week cycle, your body finally goes, okay, in order to get stronger, we have to perfect the technique or get so ridiculously strong that the technique won't matter, or a combination of both. And that's where the perfect days come into the mindset and everything like that. But
what was the step before?
395. So basically, I would equate that to the 405. And the way the 395 versus the 405 move was night and day difference. So, but what did you think was on it when you lay down just now?
I had no idea.
Not that. And then get right, like grab like you would the bar, and put it right there, and just work just that point right there.
How far up?
Just go up.
Full
like
reps
where
or?
the bar is. Yeah, right there. But go fast, like fucking. Bah! How does it feel like, are you getting tired doing that?
Nope.
Okay, faster. Now visualize the actual bar being right there and it's wanting to slow down on you. So what I'm trying, so what I'm trying to do is a couple things, is the bands, because they're unstable, it's basically activating all the stabilizers that right now are kind of, I don't want to say failing, but they're not either activating.
I feel like we're out of whack.
Yeah. So now when you get under the bar, that activation should already be there. Plus you're working on speed, so now your mindset is go, 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 versus timid, muscle. It's more like get it down and then fire. And the firing is, think about like a dragster coming out. There's not a, let's pedal down the gas. It's like, boom, and now everything's got to be perfect. The traction's got to be there, but you're not moving around, so your traction is there. Your engine is good. It's just, how do I get this torque to move me and the bar away from each other?
I got some serious lower back pain from the flight. So I feel it when I'm setting up. Like as soon as I'm getting low out, I got 3 herniations in my back, so this is not. But I'm just trying to I don't know if that's, I'm not making excuses, but
No, I just like I would say like
I feel like once I get set and I get locked in, I'm getting ready to, you know, as soon as I'm set and arched, you know, my left hamstring's on fire. You know, like I'm doing a squat.
okay.
You know, like from the top of my glute.
So with that said, I still think you can overcome that. So I don't want this to like me explaining this to be like, oh well, that's just gonna.
No, this is a stretching issue.
Yeah.
This is, you know,
So what I would do, this comes back to earlier conversations where leading up to a bench day, any workout, it's like, okay, I'll come out here 2-3 days before my workout, stretch back, just to kind of loosen things up. And I sit on ice, heat, massage, rolling out. I'll come out here and roll out if my back's tight, because my back being tight today doesn't necessarily affect me on Monday if I'm benching Monday. But what if I'm standing all day tomorrow?
Yep.
Well, if I stretch it out today, it's less that tomorrow will affect Monday. So I'm always thinking, what can I do today to, and as silly as it sounds, I mean, when your goal is to bench something that you've never done before, I mean, you got to take it seriously.
That's the hardest part, I think, with this sport in general, is that no matter if you're benching, if you're a squatter, if you're a deadlifter, everything's tied in together.
Yeah.
You know, if you got
What you
a
ate
pain in your glute and you're benching, I don't care who you are, it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
You know, I'll have pain in my bicep. I used to have, when I started getting really heavy and started getting stronger, I would do a heavy 400-something pound rep, my bicep would kill me.
Yeah.
I'd get off the bench and couple my training, like, how are your biceps killing you?
Yep.
Well, because you're using them when you're controlled descent to get that motion, to get that eccentric motion.
Well, anything. I mean,
you should be using your biceps. I'm like, they're part of it.
It becomes to the point to where you could have a hangnail and it's messing with your mind enough that it throws you out of your groove.
Oh yeah.
And you can correct that.
Ingrown toenail.
I mean,
And that for 2 months.
anything.
Affected everything.
And it sounds funny because you think, oh, tough guy, being able to be strong, you should be able to overcome things like that. But you can't deny the fact that if pain is in your body's responding to it. Now, you might be able to harness it for good, but at the same time, if I've got tendonitis in my elbow, well, when I'm benching, going for a max rep, if I didn't have that, it's one less thing to worry about. So that small bit of energy does matter. Regardless of how much it matters, it still matters. So it's taking away some of your mental energy or physical energy, because if you're, let's say, locking up in a hamstring trying to bench, well, now you're having to move your leg to correct a cramp, which you just wasted all the energy instead of benching. So you can look at it however you want. Oh, that's a cop-out. Well, it is what it is. And yes, you can, I mean, I've done some crazy stuff while suffering from some ailment or whatever you want to call it, and done very good and used the energy in a good way. But it's also gone the other way where it's defeated me. And I'm like, God, if I just didn't have whatever that issue was going on in the day, or my shoulder was clicking, and of course, I'm all very recovery mindset oriented. If I'm going in for a heavy lift or shoulder press and my shoulders are messing with me, I'm probably not going to end up going for it, just because I want to stay smart about it. So,
Like in my head, 2 years ago a year and a half ago I did 441 in comp and flew. Now I haven't been back there. And does that mess with my head? Absolutely.
yeah.
Because I know I'm stronger. I know I'm in better shape. I know I'm technically sounder. I'm more well-rounded. When I get back to that heavier weight, I'm failing.
So
does that mess with my head? Yeah, but I know it's part of the process because I've made so many changes everywhere else that I'm not tying it all in, that when I do tie it in, like you said, I'm going to have a big jump. So I got to keep that in my head.
That's the thing, and I can speak from experience on I'm not just coaching, but I'm still active in lifting, so I see this every day in my own training, where I'm either like squat and deadlift would go up some and then bench goes back. It's like, well, why? What's going on? I'm working just as hard on bench as I am squat and deadlift. Why are those going up? This one's not. There's a lot of factors that go into play, and one is, when you change a program, it might take you a year to get used to that program, but then you may not have had your diet, recovery, your stress level, whatever other aspects of it tie all in fixed yet. So you have the program right, you have the reps, the sets, the volume, the recovery done, but your stress level's through the roof, and you just don't even know it because you lift, you're like, oh, I'm taking out my stress, but then you realize I'm in an oil field for 10 hours a day or 70 hours a week or 150 hours a week, and coming home, you're dog tired, but you still want to get your workout in. You think, oh, I'm being tough. No, you have 150 hours of work behind you in this week, or hot, cold, whatever your deal is, and then you're trying to also put out more energy in the weight room you don't have.
Yep.
So and that's just one aspect. That one of those, you sit at an office job all day long, so you get tight, you don't get up, you don't move, you don't have the blood flow, and you expect to all of a sudden go from 0 to 150 miles an hour that night. I mean, I'm a computer programmer, build websites, so I'm thinking in my brain all day long, nothing physical. I'm sit on my butt on the couch, on TV or whatever, and then I get up and there's a transition period that I have to go, okay, I'm not the nerd guy anymore.
Yep.
Take this all off, become Superman, and it takes me 30, 45 minutes to just get into the zone, crank up the radio, whatever my pre-workout ritual is, and everybody's different, to then get into this zone, and then I gotta cool down to get back into dad family mode. So it's an ebb and flow, and you learn your own way to deal with it, and that can change over time because you change up your program, you change up how you eat, you change what you're eating, you change where you live. It all matters.
And let's not lie, COVID definitely affected everybody. I think the past 9 months being in a home gym, or actually no, it's going on almost a year. March is when the gyms closed. So everybody out there that had to do what we did, make a home gym when you didn't have a commercial gym, your workouts changed. No matter, you can only get. Some people couldn't get any equipment, and I was lucky enough that we scrambled and got the basics. But I wasn't. I'm not doing nearly what I used to do in a commercial gym, accessory-wise, stretching-wise. So I know I'm lacking in that. So I think I got to concentrate on getting more stretching and getting more flexibility back in my routine like I used to.
Yep.
There you go.
Fast. Go.
Push.
Yes. Go. Finish that shit. Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Yes. Nice. That right there that came all together.
Yep.
Now here's my take on that. If you would have made the last one look like that, we would have gone up. The only thing is you used energy on the last rep, which you got to take into consideration. I'm more than happy to add more weight to it. I'll leave it up to you if you want to do another rep higher. But here's how I take it. The technique on that one was you'll see it.
I slowed that at a much slower descent, right?
Yep. And then as soon as you hit that spot, you were like, you're not going to get me this time. No. You had the mindset already. The first one, it almost took you off guard because you were like, oh shit, and
I think that goes back to what you were saying about not knowing the weight. Some people it does work for.
Yep.
I think I got a little taken off guard.
This is a good angle for that. You'll see as soon as you got to that spot. Now it slowed down. You're going to slow down because that's your slow spot. Everybody's got one. Mine starts at 575-ish and goes up all the way until max. So right here.
No flare.
Yep.
That almost stayed in.
Yep. So
what's the difference?
It's huge. It's literally
it's
the difference between failing
here
and getting
and here.
Yeah.
It's like a chicken wing.
Yep. So the thing is, you only have so many reps in a workout, and honestly, that could go, and basically build off one another. So the fact that we had 420 on the first one, and you got it here, defeated you basically. So now you're like, oh crap. Now how'd you know what it was? You would have been like, really? Come on, man. Well, putting it on again, you're already at a deficit. You're already spent from the first rep, and you're like, man, it got me once. Is it going to get me again? And you already almost like, well, if I needed to go higher, it's like in a meet. You take that rep knowing that you could get it, but now you're kind of at risk because you're already in a deficit from mentally not getting the rep. Also physically you're at a deficit because you spent energy on that rep, extra energy fighting it too, and then you just got to 420 again. So you just bench 420 twice.
Yep.
Well, normally if you're going to 450, you'd get 395, 420, 450. Well, now we've just added another 400 pounds of volume in there. You can't discount that and be like, well, it's no big deal. It will affect the 450 more than if you didn't do it. But the way I look at it is, okay, on today, that's what happened. Not that we would do it next week, but if we had a week where it was like, okay, we worked up and this happened and you got a successful lift afterwards, the next week we'd redo it and build off the momentum and go, okay, 420, 435, and then keep moving inch by inch, correcting as we need to, but realizing that sometimes the lift is going to be harder because of a technique issue or a strength, or just it was a bad day or whatever the case is. It wasn't a perfect storm that day. Doesn't mean it was a failure. No. And that's the takeaway is you turn it into a positive, not just to make everybody feel good and go home happy. It's not the world. Not everybody gets a trophy. That's not the idea. But the idea is
99.9% of our lifting.
Yeah. So I would say
sometimes 100% we don't get a trophy.
I would say I've failed more lifts than I've succeeded with. But you learn from the failure.
It's like Michael Jordan, right? What did he say? He goes, he missed how many thousands of
shots?
shots?
The shots you don't take.
Yeah.
It's the ones that they don't see. Yeah. That nobody sees.
He goes, I missed 10 times more, whatever. I'm probably misquoting Michael Jackson. Forgive me if anyone.
Michael Jackson.
I mean,
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Forgive me, but he said something that Michael Jackson misses 10,000 more free throws than he's ever made. That's the truth. You gotta get back from what you miss.
It makes you weak in a muscular fashion. That's a technical issue. When you hit, something happened. It may be something you can't see. You may have hit and it just loosened up here, which when you went to fire, this side is just a hair loose, which you're having to now overcompensate or flare. And a lot of people, they flare to try to get more of that engagement. When if you're already set and you're already tight, it's already there. It's when you lose it, it's kind of like when you see people pick their hips up. Basically, what's going on is if I lay down flat and I just bench, well, as soon as I try to press, if I'm not solid in my shoulders, I'm going to start to kind of slip around. I'm basically picking up my hips to put myself in a decline position. Well, if I'm already
press the bar backwards.
If I'm already in a decline position like this and I'm tight, my shoulders aren't going anywhere. My hips lifting, I can't even get my hips off. I'm trying to pick my hips up right now. I can't even get them off the bench. That's hurting my back. Now I'm straining myself just to get my hips up. But if I lay flat, I can lift my hips up all day long and go all over the place. So
you want to become. Like people ask me for tips, and I don't always feel that I'm at the level that I should be giving any advice. But
you're at a level that you can give advice. Like the thing is, everybody has what your experiences are, and that can be helpful to somebody. Even if somebody at my level, because I will see what you do, and I can either in a teaching mode or just an observer, I see, okay, you're having this problem. If I haven't had that problem in a while, I'm complacent to that, or how to fix it. Even as my own lift, that's why I think everybody, no matter if you're a coach or not, you should have a coach, because you have another set of eyes looking at what you're doing to critique it and give you their opinion. Because you get complacent, you get a little kind of on autopilot, and you're like, oh, I got this. Well, you should never, ever get to that point in your lifting career where you have arrived and you got this. Like, I don't care if you have the world record by 150 pounds, you don't have this. You just happen to get where you get because you were able to get where you got. But to get better, you can't have the attitude of, nobody can tell me what to do. Well, you just failed. Like, you might as well stay where you're at because you're not going to get better. But openness at every level, so learning more, has always been my philosophy, because there's always going to be somebody that knows something you don't know, and you might be able to use it. And if you can't use it, either now or never, you might be able to pass it on.
Yep.
opposite side.
This shit from you, come get it back in blood. Bitch, come get it back in blood. We like mask, go no dog shit. Nigga know who it was. Shit like the A, it was different, oh, I cut it down. His ass all in that wood. Boom! Book his ass, I wish he would come. B-Roy pop up at that car with that new Glock, I wish he would come. His ass pushing on. Think I can take back control.
I don't want to bump it up too much, but at the same time, I want to work. I mean, 1.5. Yeah, I'll probably quarter on there. The thing about back is you can't really overwork. I mean, you can, don't get me wrong, but you hit it 4 times a week, the upper back feel good. You know? No matter what age, I don't know, everybody really trains. You get this exercise once a week, then you can go into the T-bar rows, then you can go into that pull down, over the course of a week. Your back is sore, but it's not like too sore to do the movement. It's not like bench where the soreness could actually prevent you from doing it. Basically touch these two.
Stay more over this way or force?
That's fine, straight up right there. Straight up. Yep. Take the reverse pinch while you're doing high muscle connection. Now on this side, think about the wrist lift and actually activating this lever. You'll feel this right here actually start to work. Now you're focusing that. So what you're doing is you're training your brain
To work in the weak side.
to work that side with more intent. So when you actually go to bench, you feel that muscle more. It's weird, but you're literally talking to that muscle, as weird as it sounds, to basically be able to control it from now on. So some of it's philosophical, some of it's science, but if you're thinking about the muscle, then your brain is talking to it. It's weird to sound like that, but when you miss a lift, you immediately go, I know what's going wrong, but you can't fix it. But if you now are sitting here working on back, working on lats, you know that particular spot is weak, so you're like, time to kill it, time to make that weakness a strength. And so the next time you hit this exercise and you put another 5 or 10 pounds on it, you do the exact same thing, but it feels easier because you've now recruited that muscle more efficiently. And eventually, you get to the point where you can't go any more weight. That doesn't mean you're weak, it just means that you've maxed out this particular movement, and you probably need to do something else to stimulate that muscle to do what you want to do. But I normally take 1 to 2 minutes rest, depending on how hard that, you want to go up, you feel like you go up. So I would take at least 2 minutes rest if you're going up, just so that you have enough recovery. Because we're working the weight, but we're also making sure we're working the muscle. So it's not a matter of how heavy can we go on this to see how we feel. It's more of, now we'll get to a point to where we can do, I would say, the way that looked and the way, you know how it felt, is we could probably put on another 10, 20 pounds each side and really work on like 3 sets of 10, and that will fry your back out. Like you'll know it. And afterwards, you've already done your bench set today. You don't need your back for anything else today. We fry it out on this, then we can go to triceps and flies and fry those out. And then you get a good solid week of rest. Those muscles are good to go. And they've grown over that time. That's what I've always used accessories for, is just, okay, good day or bad day on bench, or squat or deadlift or whatever it is. Now the accessories are going to make this lift stronger the next time I go to do it. That's the philosophy behind the accessory work. Remember, grip the hell out of it. Same way you grab the bench bar. You starting to feel it now? Good, good. Squeeze. Think about about that spot. Think about the failure and making it a good thing next time. One more. Squeeze the hell out of the top. Yeah. That should burn. We'll get a couple minutes rest, let the burn subside. Don't want to completely recover, but next set should be harder from the beginning. So you're breaking down the muscle, but you're not killing it to where you can't move. Then you don't recover fast enough. And it's, you know, no matter what level you're at, recovery is key because you want to basically make sure you have the ability to work out next week. Because what's the point if you can't progress? You know? Now, when it starts getting hard, make the set harder by squeezing here and make it like, don't fight it. Embrace the burn. But this will be your last set, so make it as good as you can make it. And think that spot, tight, shoulders back. Look up slightly, there you go, right there. Yeah. Think about how bad you want that 450 plus, right there. How bad do you want it? Squeeze the shell right now, hold it. This one, hold it. Let go. It only takes a few sets, man. It doesn't, you don't need to go, well, for powerlifting, you don't need to go 50 sets of 20 and do all these reps, or go super heavy. It's just hitting the rep range, and it doesn't, like, we did, what, 10 there-ish? So, but if I would have said, oh, let's go 3 sets of 10, either form would have been sacrificed, or, so that's the problem with not seeing it in person or feeling it, is sometimes the reps are there, and it's a good thing. Sometimes the number of reps won't be there, but the quality at the beginning is. So that's where, as you grow as a lifter, you find what works for you, and you know what you're feeling. And you know, in the beginning, it's, oh, it hurts, I don't want to do it anymore. Well, really, you should push past that, but not so far that it hurts. As you get more advanced, or older, or more experienced, you know, okay, if I do 5 solid reps, it's better than doing 10 shitty reps. So you start to really focus on quality, and then especially if you have only an X number of minutes that you can do in the gym, you don't want to be messing around. You want to get in, get out. So it becomes, how many reps can I get in right now to go and get some good rest, come back in, do it again, and switch it up. I would say tricep flex. All right. And then that way you let your back rest a little bit, because we'll go to flies at the end and burn those out, because your flies are, your pecs aren't an issue. You can fire it off, but you still want to work on it. So I try to, even though these are tricep, I still try to, anytime I'm doing a motion, try to set my shoulders. I know I'm not going to set them like I do on bench, but at least I'm getting used to it. Every time I lay down, I'm always doing that. So it's just a matter of doing this. And so for these, it's just a matter of going straight down like this, stopping right there, just holding it, but keeping your elbows as far as you can, and then firing off. So control the descent, and then almost fire off, straight up, with the elbows in, as much as, see, that's as far as I can get my elbows in, because it's my body. But if you can get them in further, and then hold it here, and fire off. Surprisingly, it's actually kind of tough because I'm not warm. It's only 25 pounds, but it is what it is. I figure it's got to be pretty light, I would think. They're pretty warm. Focus all on tricep. Right here? Right, a little bit down. You can roll back just a hair, and then fire it up. And then keep as much as you can with your body, obviously. The wider you are, it's harder to do it. How's that feel? Good. Okay. And the point of these not being able to touch the ground is you never let your tricep relax during the whole set. And actually, the only way it's relaxing is right here, and then it's under tension again. That's good. That's good? Yeah, just flatten out. I'm going to go up a little bit of weight. That's more of a, like I said earlier with the back, every accessory has a little bit of a warm-up. because each accessory is a different movement than the last exercise, so you're not warm in the triceps from doing back. Because triceps are notorious for working on elbow or tendonitis. If those start to flare up, then elbow sleeves or changing, if it only if it bothers you. If it's not bothering you, I wouldn't worry about it. But this is one of many tricep exercises. Push downs, rope, V-bar, close grip push-ups, just to have a slew of different accessories for each of the movements, because if you wanted to change up how it felt one week, or you go to a gym that doesn't have dumbbells but you have the rope, or you don't have a rope or band but you have dumbbells, or you have a bar, you do skull crushers. Like, there's just a lot of different ways to do a exercise, but having an extra set of accessories that you can go to at any given moment in time helps you be able to not only complete whatever your goals are in your accessory work, but if something hurts, normally it's just changing it up, switching up how it feels. I know with me, it's a straight bar always irritates my elbows just because of the angle. But my anatomy might be different than yours, so if you do it, you might be on a V-bar, it might hurt yours. And if it does, just don't do it. I mean, if it hurts, it's probably not a good thing to keep doing.
Oh yeah.
About 5 more. Keep your elbows tight. Yeah. That'll really focus the tricep. Yep. The last one, just fire it off. Think about that fail rep and blast it. Use it as ammunition. I try to use what people would call a failure or a disappointment instead of like ignoring it, because it's never going to go away. It's like, okay, well, it was given to me for a reason. Let me use it as ammunition. And so I try to use it like, okay, the next time I go for this rep, I want to have either punished myself enough or taught myself enough to blast past it. So it's like, that's why I'm telling you, think about a failed rep and use it as ammunition, because now you're training your body to use that failure as a positive. Yeah. And also the mind muscle connection, but also, you know, we're working on your back being stronger, your triceps being stronger to complete the lift, because what happens if now your weak spot moves from here to here? Well, your triceps are going to be the culprit at that point. But if we're focusing on triceps as well as back, pecs, everything, we're not leaving anything unturned. So all of the exercises that we can do to keep those muscles tight and in shape, your sticking point may move, but it's not going to be such a drastic change. Let's say you get up to here now, and now you're like trying to lock out 475. Well, we make the triceps a little bit stronger, and now that locks it out. But if you don't do any triceps because you feel like your triceps aren't strong enough, we blast through this point, get this super strong. As soon as you get here, it's going to be an utter failure, because your triceps are going to never have felt that kind of weight. It's like, I don't know what to do with this. So it's just continually training it.
But that's how I'm saying. I feel like maybe it's my triceps that are weak on these, you know? Because I haven't been doing the, you know, I should do dips religiously, I should do poster bench. Like, really?
From what I see, your triceps aren't a weak spot right now, comparatively. Now, you might feel they're weaker because you're used to doing exercises, maybe you're doing less of them now, but it also goes back to, you only have so many hours a week to train. Yeah. You personally, I might have my own hours, which might be more or less, or my recovery might be on point or less than yours, whatever. But if you could do 100 sets of triceps a week, I wouldn't do them just because you could. I basically focus, okay, what do we need to do? Like more back, more isometrics, and more band work for that particular weakness that you have. But don't neglect you're stronger, your triceps and the things that you are strong at. Because as soon as you neglect them, now they go by the wayside, you don't use them. And so they become the weak point very quickly. All right, we'll do one more of this. This being the last one, make it to where you're not going to be able to pick something up later. You want your tricep on fire, which keep it safe, obviously. You just want to feel the burn. Almost done. Tight, control it. Don't worry about the number of reps, quality. Right off. So that tricep? Oh yeah, think about it. Speed, fire. Control, fire. Burn it out. Yeah. Deep breath, stay tight. Good form, good form, good form, good form. There you go. Good, shut it down. Oh shit. Well, that's like 3 sets. But again, it's quality over quantity every day. It's different training methods for powerlifters, for strength, and you only have so many hours in your day that you can train. So if you're able to do 3 good quality sets and get that last one to burn out, your triceps is tight. You don't need to do anything else for triceps. And how much tricep have we really, other than the bench, 3 sets. So it's hitting them quick and hard. Now, for me, like my triceps are freaking strong because like my pecs will burn out the hardest. And my back, my lats actually, even though I've got a pretty strong back, my lats are the weakest spot. So when I do my lat pull down, that last set is brutal. And it may not look like it, but it's excruciating. I'm like fighting every rep. Triceps, I gotta slap on so much weight and do so strict of a rep and hold it to get the same feeling, but my triceps are my stronger point. So everybody's got something that's strong.
I feel like my triceps used to be my stronger point. Not that I neglected them, but I'm just focusing so much that they fell off.
It changes. I wouldn't look at it as they fell off. Your focus is just not having to be on triceps because you're not failing your rep with triceps. Not that you don't ever need to worry about triceps, but if you were failing at the top, triceps is your culprit because you're literally not able to finish the lock. So triceps is probably the issue. But if you take it off your chest, back and pecs. Your triceps haven't even been able to get the lift, so that you don't even know if they're in. So if you're getting here and you're doing all this, stabilizers, back, lats, shoulders, and then in here you've got a little bit of try and buy for stability, but it's a lot of it is speed. Getting past that point and stability. Now, if you're moving all over the place, it's either your setup was off and you're not set correctly, or you're set up correctly, but then your stabilizers aren't able to hold it all tight, and your core is not able to stay tight. So when you start slipping every time you move, you're out of position. So those muscles aren't able to, and it may not be the big muscle groups, it might be the little tendons that are just loose. And you tighten them all up by doing accessory work and working the exercise. So I think we'll go straight to pec. We actually do pecs right here. So it literally would just be like that's the bear hug basically right here. Don't need to touch anything. And it's just gonna come down, and right when your elbows hit the ground, right there is plenty. Now that's too much, just because it's too much stress on the pec for what we're doing, because they're already exhausted. So I like to kind of just think, boom, that's boom. And so that'll be the first set like this. Second set we'll go 5-second negative and really feel the rep. Oh, it's good. You're gonna feel the burning. And we'll do that for X number of reps. And then we'll come back on the last set and see what we can burn out, and then we'll hit the flies. So you swing them up like you do on the triceps. Yep. And then get them in position. But again, your pecs, they're not warm right now. So this is warming them up. Yep.
Right here?
Right there.
Right there?
Yep.
Arm bent it up or more?
Right there. Yep, that. Yep. Right there. Just think contraction on the pec.
This is just a warm-up set. So
Yeah, I'm just getting the spot.
got it?
Yep.
Should feel that and a little bit right here.
Yep.
And anytime, grab the hell out of the dumbbell. Anytime you got your hand on something, just grip the shit out of it. It tells your whole body it's business. Feel pretty warm?
Oh yeah. Feel light.
Good, good. First one should feel. I mean, it's, too many people jump right into the freaking heavy accessory. Like, yeah, I mean, you can do 100-pound flies, but you don't jump into 100-pound, right away. You take your time getting up there.
You good?
Yep. First set. So, we had already worked on today. This, like I said, it's an accessory work. It's not meant to be a max out or like how much can we go crazy. Because I know you can fly, whatever we want to put on there. But at some point, it's like, okay, do we want to get 3 reps and look good, or do we want to work the pec and actually break it down to where it builds up?
You already did work. You're also opening yourself up for one wrong move.
Well, in pecs, flies are one of the things. The reason why I like the floor flies is it stops you. And I mean, if you're here, which you do get a better stretch.
Oh yeah.
If you're doing light, but as soon as you're thinking powerlifter, I'm getting stronger. You go here. What happens if you lose it? Well, you got to drop this one. Now you got to drop. So you're in a bad spot. Plus, you can't save that. If you're on the floor, you just drop it. You're out.
Feel. Yeah,
Well, you don't know how far you go. Even if you think, okay, I'm here, you might be really, really far, or one might be uneven. Well, both are hitting the ground. You know you're good. So it's also kind of it's like a box squat. You know, okay, I've hit that.
Yep.
So you can go back down. So.
Good.
Yep. And this is also, I mean, even though it's just getting in position, you think about it as a tricep exercise. You're slinging out into a tricep extension to get in position. Yep. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Bear hug. Visualize why you're doing these. The whole bench press, the max weight that you want to have on the bar, and how this is going to translate to that. Because the faster you come off your chest, the less that sticking point is going to be perceived. What'd you say your RPA is at right now? All right. Tricep it down. There you go. We'll do the same weight on the next one. Obviously going to be less reps, but we'll do a 5-second hand. And that just really work on thinking individual fiber, stretch. Because at the same time, you're thinking, like, you're not stretching your muscle, but if you think, okay, I'm using it, I'm stretching it out, it really allows you to know, okay, this is the contraction, and that it allows you to control it. Versus it just being, I'm moving the weight, and my back is moving it too. Your pecs really feel that stretch, so you're connecting the dots. Back still tired?
Back.
Triceps? Good.
Smoked. Just control it on the way down.
Yeah.
You're screaming. It's amazing. You know, the simplest little things.
Well, and so what'll happen is if this is a newer feeling and you haven't been training like this is for anybody, you get to the point to where you're going to get used to this and you're going to have to either up the weight to get better, or do more reps, or figure out something to make the set harder so that you can, because your body's going to adapt to it and get stronger. So typically the easiest thing is just to, okay, well this week it's 40s, next week it's 42s or 45s. But at some point you're going to get so strong where it's not going to be advantageous to go super heavy every week on flies because it's too much. You're not working the muscle enough, you're working more the 1 rep max mentality. And so I would change it up and say, okay, let me pre-fatigue it with these and then go and do another fly or cable or something just to hit it at a different angle, because the angles or the stability that you have could make all the difference in the world. I mean, you could get really good at these because you're getting really good at them, but that doesn't mean your pecs are strong. It just means that you've been able to adapt to this exercise. But then you go and do a cable fly and you realize, oh, this one's actually weaker than this one. You know, you start overcompensating, or you start realizing that you're using a different, like here you have your back supported. On a cable fly, it's just you, or on a pec
Like the tricep tries you had me start with.
Yeah.
6 months ago when I started with them, 20 pounds?
Yep.
It was miserable.
And the thing is, it doesn't matter. Like,
I felt like a discombobulated idiot. First I was doing them wrong. Remember first time I was doing it,
Tricep,
6, 6, 6, 6. Like, no, 1 rep is 1.
and
One
how
rep.
you do them makes a
Now I'm
difference.
up to, what,
Yeah.
50s, I think? And it feels great. You know? Some of my training partners doing with me, he hates it. I'm like, one of the reasons to do it.
That's the other thing is, if you hate it, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're enjoying your workout, you're probably not working out the right thing. You're not working on what's hard. So it's gonna be the 5-second negatives. Hold tight the whole time. Yep. Squeeze. Chest, yep. Yeah, squeeze.
You waited till the last one to tell me that.
Nah, I took it right to the limit. And you got to know.
I came by, am I doing another one?
Too much is too much, but you still got some pec tech to do. But that's the other thing is, you know, we're not trying to take it to utter failure all the time, because then it's kind of counterproductive. But you'll know when you feel it.
Oh, yeah.
When it's too much, when it starts to burn, good. If it starts to sting, it's almost like, oh, hey, this is my muscle saying, hey, we're literally getting on the verge of, because you're causing micro tears.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You don't want those micro tears to become a little bit extra and take too long to
I
heal.
think at this point, 50 years old, one of the advantages if you've been training long enough is if you haven't learned your body by now and what the difference is between a burn and uncomfortable pain, and that's what you should focus on, because that's one thing I know is if it don't feel right, shut it down.
Well, and that's the tough part.
I mean, that's one thing
As
that
an
taught me the most
athlete,
is
and as a
recovery.
coach is,
Right?
yep.
One of my biggest downfalls, all my training partners said, dude, you're going heavy every week. You know, when I started
you
training
can
with
make
you,
progress like that because, and it's either as newbie gains or you actually aren't going as heavy. You're going heavy, but your body could handle a lot more. But you think, oh, because I'm doing 315 every week, and all my buddies are doing 295, and you're able to do 315 every week, you think, oh, well, I'm making progress with this. But if your potential is 405, you're actually holding yourself back by doing 315 because your body's not able to get any stronger. When you step back and do some sub-maximal workouts and some maximal loads and build your strength up and be patient, you're doing a couple things. You'll learn how to be patient. One, if you're in it
the whole name of this sport.
for the quick game, you're going to get some early on success and you're going to have a great time. But as soon as you fail, you're going to go, man, screw this, I'm out of here, and you're going to quit.
Yep.
And that's society in everything. That's how life is. Oh, I start a business. Oh, it's tough. Oh, I'm out of here. Well, you weren't cut out for it because you're not cut from the same cloth. And
I see that every day. No one wants to put the work in anymore. Everyone wants to come out and get a job making $100,000 a year and not start.
Yeah. And they see one guy who got out of college and got a lucky break that did that or got daddy's money or whatever, and they feel like, oh, that's going to happen to me. Chances are it's not. Just like you're not going to come out of the shoot bench at 405. It's not going to happen. And if you are, you're one out of a billion, and there won't be another one like you until 10 years, 15, 20 years from now. And it's probably not going to be the next guy. So.
I mean, look at your progression. You started, it's been 8 years. If you go back 8 years on the Instagram page and see where you were 8 years ago and where you are now.
It's like
who's going to put the work in to be at that point 8 years ago to be where you are now? That's the difference.
So there's two schools of thought. One is it sucks when you're not making progress because you don't have anything tangible to keep you excited. So my biggest advice for that is find something that you can do better on and work on that will apply to your ultimate goal. So like for me, I can't bench 600 pounds every week because I'm either going to break down too fast or I'm not going to be able to progress at all. So I've got to break it down and go, okay, well, 13, 14, 20 weeks out, whatever. Okay, my best at 405 is X. All right, let's work up to beating X. And then once I do that, let's go 410 for that many reps. Well, at some point, you kind of level off with those 10 reps or whatever. Then you go, okay, what's my best at 8 reps? This? Okay, well, let me slowly get to that point. And by the time you've gotten to your best at 8, 10 weeks has gone by. Well, you're having fun because you're chasing a small, short-term goal. And you might get them, you might not. Goals, they happen. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. And if you get them, you get excited, you get motivated. Well, then you go to the next step. And before you know it, you're peaking, and now you're going for your 3-rep max. You're like, man, my best 3-rep max is 225. And now all of a sudden you just hit it for 250. You're like, on cloud 9. Well, hold that energy and now work for your 2-rep max. And just slowly progress. Now you know you're 20 weeks down the road, which 20 weeks is half a year, 6 months. Most people don't stick with anything for more than a couple weeks. So you've already surpassed most of the world. So then when you get to your 1 rep, well, everything's perfect, meet day. Now you've got a chance to put up a new 1 rep max once or twice a year, whatever. Some people get put it up more often than not, or than others, but you either get it or you don't. If you don't get it, you learn from it, you go back to the drawing board and you start fixing things again. If you get it, it's bittersweet because you're like, okay, great, I got it. Could I have done more? What could I have done if I would have done this attempt? And then you start second guessing, am I really that strong? Could I be stronger? Well, then either way, you're back to the drawing board. That feel pretty heavy? I would just burn out. Just work the same rep that you're doing with. Good. I like to set it 1 back so that it's not right here, but slightly back so it gives you a good stretch because you're on a different cane machine. Just work, getting the blood in there. And on the last rep, squeeze it really good. And
How many you want?
as many as you want. Here's your finisher.
What's that?
Finish it. We'll do a couple sets. I want to pretty much go to failure, but at lightweight. We're not in the danger zone with heavyweight failure. It's kind of mixing a little bit of hypertrophy into the strength. You got to burn on that one, but the next one won't burn it. Like it'll be murder. But you work the muscle doing the other sets. You worked it obviously with bench. You worked it with flies. But now we're burning it out. So just like we did the triceps, we burn those out. And in fact, we could even do the burnout with triceps. I think we can probably kill those a little more. But we're in the phase now where your energy stores are already gone from this workout. You're already at the last. You either want a meal or you're just like, I'm tired. So your mindset isn't quite right. So you don't want to mess around with heavy weight right now. You're not formed enough to be perfect. So the lighter weight, you can keep good form, really work the muscle, and burn it out to where it fatigues it. Now you're in a phase where as soon as you stop working out, you're in recovery mode. The more that you broke down the muscle, the more it builds up, the stronger it is next time. So this is where the work gets done that most people that see powerlifters working out don't see, because they see the 3 big lifts and they're like, what else do they do? Well, this is the work. This is the iceberg, underneath. The tip of the iceberg is what they see. This is the main set or what's on the platform. Everything underneath it is all the accessory work that makes everything stronger. This one is just make it safely as many as you can. But on the last one, when you know you're basically a failure, hold it. Always thinking about the mind muscle connection. Doing this type of training once a week is plenty, especially at your level and your age is perfect. A little bit younger, when I was 20 years younger, I could have probably gotten away with doing something like this twice a week, but you got to think recovery when you get to a certain level. Yeah. Good burn, good burn. And hold that last one. Yeah. How you feel? Oh yeah. Now, be careful. I know if you're anything like me, when your chest is on fire, not right away, but within a few hours when you start coming down, if you reach across, cramp up, the best thing to do is just do this and just open up. Because it's basically you're trying to contract a muscle that's going, hey man, leave me alone. I've been messing with too much today. And sodium, potassium levels, water, all that could mean. But honestly, I've done extra potassium, extra sodium, water. I've done stretching. It's just the muscle saying, leave me the hell alone. Like, stop messing with me. And by doing this, you're telling it, I want you to do something. And it could happen with
I'm telling you, screw you. You're not doing nothing.
Yep. Heavy pulls, my forearms will lock up later in the day because you're literally just doing this and pulling. The best thing to do is just leave them alone. Like, don't pick up anything for the rest of the day. And people think, oh, I'm tough. I can. Okay. I mean, you're gonna cramp up, but don't bitch and complain. Triceps? Yeah. We pretty much finished out the back. We finished that out, burned it out, burned out pecs, burned out triceps, and I think we're done. So these will just be ordered, and then just really get mostly all of it's going to be triceps, but you'll feel a little bit of shoulders and contraction, but just keeping it tight and really just focus on triceps and just hit as many reps.
Hey, Manny,
Yep. Let's see make sure how's it feel weight wise. You feel like you're about 20 reps or so? Oh yeah, they're rock hard right now. Crazy pump.
and my tendonitis is flared up just from the other day working out. Just hitting this, I don't feel anything about elbows, and I feel my triceps moving it all the way. But like for the rope, it just feels the angle. It's because I'm obviously here, and so it's almost like doing that.
It's up here.
Yeah, it feels. You ever use one?
That like that? No.
Oh, try it. I mean, it might. If it feels better, you might actually get more reps. If you got more work.
Yeah, you should be able to get more reps with that.
Feel different?
Oh yeah.
Like better?
Easier.
That means you can get more reps out of it then. Get the same weight. I also like it because it mimics a bar. You can really grab it and train your body every time you're grabbing the bar. It's time to go to work. Now you're on fire.
Now I'm on fire.
That's it. That's all there is to it. And without the talking, it could have been done in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty efficient just way to feel it, work it, and even if it's like, let's say like the program. And that's the only bad thing I don't like about online coaching is that I can see how your body's responding to a set. It can make adjustments on the fly and say, okay, instead of doing 4 sets of 10, 5 sets of 5 or 8 reps is fine with this weight. Let's keep it at that. Let's see what we can do in the last set, burn it out. Versus 3 sets of 10, that's all you get. Well, you might need a little more that day.
Yeah.
And so I can tell, like on this one, you're burned out. Like we could do another set, but at some point it's like, it's not advantageous. But you being burned out now, a good solid rest over the weekend, Wednesday, Thursday, you would be primed and ready for another day. Or like in a normal week, if you bench every Saturday, you could bench today, rest up, and obviously you could hit some lower stuff, or you could hit upper accessories later in the week, but not near as heavy. It would be like half the stack, and you'd work on set to 15 real quick just to get some blood flow, and then rest. The next Saturday, time to go to work again. And that's when everything resets, and you're back to square one, saying, okay, last week, this was what my problem was. I made that problem go away, or get stronger at least, by doing this, this, and this. I'm mentally prepared to go to war this weekend, or whatever the next day is. So that's the whole point of accessories is like, okay, my triceps have been failing me. I hammered the hell out of my triceps this week, twice a week, whatever it is. The next time I go in and do my bench, my triceps should be stronger because I made them strong. I've done the work to make them stronger. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, but you should feel a clear difference the next time you bench, knowing I did this to correct this. I've done the work to make that stronger. Something has to change. And if you rested and ate, that muscle is stronger. It's going to do more for you the next time. The only thing is you might go up in weight, and it feels like it didn't do anything because you're doing the same mistake at a higher weight. That's still progress.
Yep.
That's still progress. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is what it is. And when you have a perfect week or a perfect day, all those things that were a failure, or whatever you consider failures or setbacks, now working toward your favor, and you have a perfect storm. Now all of a sudden you just add 50 pounds, and you're like, where was that at? You peaked, you had all the stuff right, and it just came together. To do that again and again and again is almost impossible. That's why you see guys get really, and then they go, it's because you can only have so many perfect storms before you got to have a few bad days. You have those bad days and then they slow down, and then it gets harder as you get stronger, older, whatever, more experience, injuries, whatever. And so that's why
And I got it all going against me. I'm getting older.
Just a number, man.
It just makes it sweeter, honestly. It makes it sweeter when you get it.
Yeah,
Because then everybody is like, oh, I didn't believe in you. You're like, in your face.
Yeah.
But not so. I don't think I'll be that way. It won't be like in your face. It'll be more
That's
like.
one thing I definitely realized. The older you get, you have less and less people that understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Most people, let's just put it this way, most people that get older have already tapped out. So if you're in the game,
Well,
and
even
you're the
ones
oldest
that
one in
tapped
the game,
out, like the ones that never even got into it, let's say,
that
they just don't understand, like, why? Why are you doing this? And I don't have an answer sometimes. Like,
it's hard enough to convince people that are younger to have hard work and endurance. To try to explain that to somebody who's well into their 30s, 40s, 50s or more, you're already talking to a wall. Yeah. It's like
I think stuff like this, like having this kind of a mindset to set a goal, whatever your goal is, if you have a goal to squat 315, you know, if you just started working out, or bench 225, if you can set that goal and work and do whatever you have to do to get there, whether you're 20, 40, or 60, you know, it translates over to the rest of your life. You know, if you can have that focus to do that one task, then, you know what, if you want to buy that house, and, you know, you're going to have that goal, you're going to have that drive to set your mind to it and make the changes you need to make.
Yep.
Because, you know,
the gym is actually easy. Compared to life, come on, man. This is easy. If you can handle life, you can handle the gym.
You gotta
doesn't mean if you can handle the gym that you can handle life.
Eating's the hard part.
Well, Eric, that's the workout, man. I hope you had a good time. I really appreciate you coming down. I know I don't get a lot of chances to work with people one-on-one just because of schedule, but I think it worked out pretty well. I got to see, you know, what your strong points are, what your weak points are, and I think it really will help with the months ahead in training. I think hopefully I conveyed some of the messages a little bit easier. I can show you some of the videos, and obviously when we're talking on the phone now and through email.
I mean, this experience has been priceless. I mean, you can't even put into words. You know, it's so much different. And when you're with somebody one-on-one, getting that feedback, you know, little tweaks. You know, I can't put any words into it, man. I'm very grateful for it.
Well, you got an amazing work ethic. Mentally, I think you're strong. It's, you know, just little tweaks here and there will add up to big successes, and just patience. I know it sucks sometimes. I'm doing it in my own training. I'm having to stay patient, you know. But I think overall, it's just we get a little bit better every day, and that's not just for lifting, but it's in life.
Yeah,
which I
absolutely.
think, you know, not to get cheesy, but yeah.
We overcame a little bit of crazy weather here in Texas at the beginning of the week. Almost didn't think I was going to come.
Woo!
Didn't know.
Yeah.
Playing it
We
day
had
by
snow,
day.
which was like literally chance of a lifetime. But you know, definitely shout out to Species Gym. If you guys are in the Katy area specifically, this is a great gym. Obviously, you saw some footage of the gym while we were training. You saw some different steel shots and things like that. But definitely shout out to Kyle, who's the owner. Maurice is actually the manager of this location. So if you come into Species Gym in Katy, Texas, ask for Maurice. Tell him James Strickland Swim Hack sent you. And I really appreciate you guys joining us today on this training video. More to come. Definitely stay tuned, and make sure you hit like and subscribe and share this video with your friends if you liked it. Peace.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, you guys, so you just saw the training video. Here we are. We're going to do a quick Q&A session, and I'm just going to let Eric take it away. The first question that I've got for you is, what is one exercise you hate to do, but it helped you the most?
That's a loaded question. I would have to say the one when you started me having to do seal rows, you know, it was something I had never done before. I think we started out, you had me doing it with the barbell, then doing it with the dumbbells, and we've gone back and forth. And I have some of my training guys that train me, the old men, they do it with me sometimes. And it's definitely a uniform consensus that it's one of the most miserable exercises to do as you're doing it. But over time, as much as I still don't look forward to it. It's not something I'm like, oh yeah, you know, seal rows, great. But I know the benefits that I've gained in the past year and a half have been astronomical from them, because it's really one of the exercises where when you're laying flat on your chest and you're trying to pull a bar and you don't have any other form of helping you, you're literally laying there like a seal, flapping in the wind, trying to pull up 200 pounds. And you know you're looking ridiculous when you watch the videos of yourself. You know, when you're really trying to pull and you're struggling, you really, there's nothing you can do. You can't get leg drive. You can't, you can just tighten your core and pull. I have to say that's the one exercise I probably still don't like the most. But I know it's helping me probably out of anything, the best. I mean, I think my back strength, hands down, has just, exploded from the past year. And I know that's definitely one of the things. So.
Good deal. Well, and that's one of the ones that, I mean, that's obviously a favorite of mine. And most big benchers are going to do some, I mean, you got to do back. It's got to be strong. But seal rows is one of those ones that I also had a love-hate relationship with in the beginning. Honestly, mine would probably be, would have been in the past, lat pull downs. And that is actually one of my stronger accessories now, which that's kind of how that does it. But, seal rows is literally just a dead lift for bench, honestly, because there's no momentum at all.
Yep.
There's no stretch reflex whatsoever. So, yeah. All right. Good deal. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are the same way, like seal rows. I don't see a lot of people doing them. And it's because it's hard. I mean, it definitely is not easy. But how do you think that's helped your bench?
I think, I can't even put into words what I think, because it's totally, the way you showed me to do them and told me, I try to do it as a reverse bench. So I'm laying down, facing down, and I'm trying to pull that bar, those dumbbells, into my back the way I'll be pulling the bar down to my chest, loading up for an attempt. So the simulation is just, I think it's trained me to learn how to get tight, on the flip side. And then, so when you go to the bench, it makes it that much easier to understand what you should be doing when you're pulling that bar down, when you're getting ready to press off your chest. So I think, I don't think there's any, you can't even put a number on it to say, what's the best thing. I think, if you're trying to get a big bench, you got to throw seals in one way or the other. You have to. Dumbbells, but however you can do them. I think it's crucial. So
awesome. All right. Yeah. Good deal. All right. So next question is, you dislike deloads, but how do you feel after one? Basically, you go into a deload not wanting it for the most part because your training's going well, momentum's going well. But then, during it, how does it feel? And then after you've had one, how do you feel as far as training, any benefits or anything like that?
Yeah, that's, something that we've talked about, often, especially in the beginning, because I came from, never having a coach, never having anybody guide me, and just thinking, more is better, more, and, why rest? And, but learning the benefits of how I feel after a week of taking it down, to 40%, 50%, giving my body that extra rest as much as I hated it. And still, I'm not, we still talk about this and, we'll be going and I'm like, 8 weeks before a meet, I'm like, well, I don't want to deload. I got to keep going. But I'm starting to trust, I think that's a big word that, I want to throw in here is that I think, when you're dealing with trusting somebody to be your coach and listen to them and travel to an area that you don't know, and deload was something that wasn't even in my vocabulary. I didn't even know what it was at first. I'm like, what do you mean deload? What does that mean? I'm not training or what? The benefits, in the beginning, it's hard. I think people, if you don't fully understand it, but you have to trust it. But once you start seeing how your body reacts, when you come back into that next 3-week block of building back up and coming back to where you left off before the deload, then you really, you start to appreciate it. And I don't want to say I look forward to it. I don't look forward to it, but I respect it, and respecting something I think is key, and, trusting it. So.
I'm actually the same way. Like deloads are one of those things where there's times when you need one and you're like, I'm actually welcoming this, and that's I think it's 50% of the time to think that way and 50 the other. But most of the time you're going well. You just hit a PR in training or reps or something, and you're like, man, I want to do it next week. I want to do it again. And then if you were to do that week, and I'm guilty of it, and I'm sure we all are. It's like, I'm not going to do a deload. I'm just going to go into the next week. And more often than not, that next week just sucks. And you're like, what is going on? It's because your body's like, hey, man, I need a break. And I think when you learn that, I learned that very early on, but I see a lot of cats in the strength game that have that mentality of push, and that's good to have, but you also got to know when to back off. And I think, well, definitely, I have definitely seen it in you where we'll kind of, it's almost like, and honestly, kind of to skip ahead is deload, you'll feel possibly a little bit weaker the week after, but then there's a gain the next week. And so it's almost like, yeah, you might take one step back after a deload, but you're going to take 3 big steps forward than you were at before the deload. But if you don't take the deload, you've only taken 1 step forward, possibly, and then you're not ahead. So, and eventually it catches up with you. And of course, age is another factor where the older we get, the more recovery we have to take. I mean, it's just inevitable. Most people are going to need more recovery as they get older. Deloads put that, kind of to the side, and we can make sure that we're doing it by scheduling it. So.
And the deload too, it's like, now, like I think I deloaded last week without even knowing it. When you go in and you're doing, you're looking at the lower weight that you're doing your reps with, it's hard. It's like, you're sitting there, it's like, well, what do you mean? Like, why is this so heavy? Because your body needed it. Yep. So it actually, almost gives you affirmation as you're doing your deload and you're struggling at that 40% weight. You know what? Shit, I needed this. So then when you do come back the following week, you're it's almost like an affirmation. It's almost like, like your body's telling you, yeah, you know what? You needed this, and, you want to only do this weight, and then you're going to struggle for it.
And you can also, and this happens to me a lot, is you can almost get almost in a twisted mental game where, whatever, let's say you're doing, 225, just as an example, on week 4 or week 3, and week 4 is a deload, so you do like 135, and that 135 feels heavy for 3 sets of 3 or whatever. I've been guilty of, going in, doing the 135 and being like, oh my God, this feels so heavy. How am I ever going to go 245 next week? But then next week comes along and it's easier. It's almost easier, and or at least the same difficulty as the 235 was, and it just, or 220, whatever the weight was, and it can mess with you mentally. But it's also, I think it helps strengthen you mentally because you start to trust the process, you trust yourself, that your body is just, you can have a bad day and do 50% of your max and not even get it because you're under stress or whatever. That doesn't mean you're not strong. It just means that particular instance, you just weren't at your best. So, and deloads can expose that, but I think it toughens us up mentally.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much. I think the key word that, keeps on popping up is mentally. And, the mental aspect to this sport or this hobby or whatever, whatever you're doing it for, whatever level, you're on the upper level, you're, a top level, top 10 in the world bench presser. I'm, I don't know, I guess I can consider myself an amateur, trying to break in, more for personal reasons. I know I'm never going to be, at that upper level. And then there's people that are starting out, that are watching a video like this, trying to see where they fall into this or what route they want to come, whether they're 20 years old or starting out at 50 years old like me. And the number one word is mental. The mental is 75% of this. That's the one thing I've learned, I think, the most in the past year.
Well, that segues right into our next question, which is how has your mental game changed for the past year? And those of y'all who didn't pick up on this earlier in the training video, Erik's worked with me for just about over a year. I think we're coming up, right at a year?
No, we're going on 2 years.
2 years. We met
the Arnold 2020.
All right, so we'll reword that. How has your mental game changed over the past 2 years? And then specifically dealing with strains, injuries, setbacks, heavy training leading up to a competition. Because I know those are things that I've recognized just being your coach in where the mental can start to mess with you. So,
yeah, that's my biggest struggle, just in life in general is always myself. I think a lot of people have that same, we battle with ourselves. You get in your own head and you almost beat yourself before you even attempt something. So that was my hardest thing in the beginning, especially because we had met, COVID hit, we built a home gym. You started training me. I was limited in our equipment that we were building the gym for me and my training partners. And, some of the things, I needed to do, I couldn't do because I didn't have the equipment. You couldn't even get it. So I was like beating myself up. And then, the mental part of it came in because my 20 plus years of training on my own, of, training heavy, going heavy every week, wanting to be in those big numbers, and then having to learn to step it down and to build really, it was a big learning process for me for a long time. And I think I struggled with that in the beginning, but then as I started to trust and see results and mentally be able to digest that, the things that you were teaching me, the process, the program, started to build my confidence. And when I started to get back into meets, when everything opened back up, I think the first meet I did, I think we actually argued once, but I'm like, I don't think I'm going heavy. I'm not going heavy enough. I got to meet, how am I going to attempt 430 pounds, whatever it was at that point, when I haven't touched over 400 in 8 weeks. And you were just, your personality is when people get to know you, is just, you're a very easy person to talk to, and you can mold. So you put me at ease, and you just told me, trust the process. And, mentally for me, just, that was key. And then the next 2 meets after that is when I think this summer is when, I did the meet in March, went into that. I think we figured out that, we were off by about a week. I went in and I hit my opener and then failed those 2 attempts, and sent you the videos, and we knew right away what happened. So that mentally, as much as that sucked to go into a meet and go 1 for 3, we spoke right away, and I came out of it, and I'm like, what, this is not breaking me. And it made me work even harder for the next meet that we had in July. And I put 100% faith in the process, and the training and the deloads, and said, I'm going to commit, not that I don't think I committed before, but I don't really think I mentally committed to trusting, everything that I needed to do, which is not just the training, the eating, is just as important, and mentally believing. And look what happened in July. I went and turned around and went 3 for 3, hit a personal best of 450 on the platform, and, which I had more, 450, I could probably had 460. So that was a big turning point for me. And then, you trained me for my first full power meet in December, which was, nerve-wracking. And that pushed, I think, my mental, capabilities to the edge, because, training for 1 lift is one thing. Training for 3 lifts is a whole different ball of wax. But I came out on top. And now here I am training for the Arnold again 2 years later, and I think I'm in a good place. Physically, I got a little bit of a cold, and I'm trying to break that mental barrier. But I think overall, having specifically you as a coach, where I think anybody having a coach is going to teach you. I think some people maybe go into it with the wrong expectations, but it's really, it's so much more than just lifting. It's really learning how to be, how to approach training, how to approach eating, how to approach your mental aspect. Because, unless you're doing it professional, if you're doing it as a hobby, the mental aspect is crucial, because, we all have lives. You're a father of 3. I have a daughter. We work. You have your own career too. Everything. That takes a toll on everything. So, I think overall, I wouldn't. There's no doubt in my mind that I've made the right decision. First of all, even thinking of having a coach, and second of all, picking you as one. you know, I mean, and the right fit, I think, is crucial, you know. You really have to search and find the right fit for you, and, you know, ask yourself those questions. I mean, if you're watching this video right now because you have questions about, you know, whether you think you should go with a coach or any coach, then you're already a step in the right direction. And it's really, you know, a question of what you're looking to get out of it. And I mean, you'll hear this in anything in life. You only get out of it what you put into it. And, you know, if you put in, you know, your heart and your soul, and you listen and you have an open mind, then you're going to get everything out of it, you know. But I mean, physically, and I think I had some injuries that I dealt with. I can't remember anything crucial. I have a shoulder injury that I've had for years that I've been, you know, working through, and you've given me advice of. So I mean, overall, you know, it's just been a win-win for me, you know.
Well, that pretty much answered the next question, which was how has working with a coach helped you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself.
But no, that's fine. I mean, and I think I'll add in there, because what I hear a lot of coaches doing is kind of listing all their achievements, talking about how good they are. You're not going to hear me say that ever, because I'm constantly trying to learn. And honestly, I still doubt myself as a coach, because I don't have all the certifications. I have experience in various sports, but I think the biggest thing that anybody looking for a coach should be looking for is somebody, because I may not be a good coach for somebody else because we just don't work well together. There's something, we may like each other, we may get along, we may be best friends, whatever, but we couldn't mesh as a coach-athlete relationship. And there's some people that I wouldn't be able to use as a coach because that's just a different mindset. But I think the biggest thing when you're looking for a coach is find somebody who can identify what you need as an athlete and is willing to do what it takes to get you over your weakness. That's literally all a coach is for any sport, for any reason. You're looking for somebody that has more experience than you in those areas that you don't, and can help guide you through the process. All the work is honestly done by the athlete. I'll just say it flat out. It's easy to be a coach if you have an athlete like yourself, Eric, that's willing to listen, that trusts the process. I mean, some can be easier than others. You're actually pretty easy, so don't even beat yourself up. But I know, you know, there's, and I'm sure I'm probably the type of athlete that would push back to a coach because I'd have questions and always want to understand the process. But honestly, that's the whole point of being a coach, is answering questions, making things easy to understand. And if you can't be that person, either finding somebody who that can either help you to teach somebody or just take over the teaching. I mean, there should be no shame in that. I know I've passed quite a few people on. In fact, I recently passed somebody over just because I said, I'm not in the position to help you the way you need to be helped. And instead of it being me, it's more of you, which that's being a coach. So anybody that's listening to this, look for somebody and do your research. Try out a few people, talk to them, see, you know, obviously you want to know their credentials, if you will. You don't want just some random person trying to coach you, but just because they're a world-class athlete does not mean they can coach, guaranteed. In fact, that's what kept me from even starting to coach, because I was questioning, okay, yes, I'm good at what I do, but that doesn't qualify me to teach or to be able to listen and identify weaknesses or identify where you need to work. And when I finally realized that I could do that, that I had that skill, I was able to go, okay, I'll take on a few clients, but the hands down, don't pick somebody because they're famous. Don't pick somebody because they're really, really strong or really well known or have a lot of followers. That's all crap. In fact, most of the time, that's BS. I just call it as it is. You know, look for results. If they have clients that have gotten results that aren't, you know, they picked them up at 500 pounds and they gave them a, 20-pound increase over, an 8-week period, that was not the coach that did that. Their training already was there. But if it took them 2 years and blood, sweat, tears, and they added 5 pounds, then something different happened. It's not going to be, it doesn't always have to be earth-shattering results, but the results speak for themselves. The clients speak for themselves. Let the athletes talk, not the coach.
No, and having a coach. I mean, specifically having you as a coach, and it's just what you were saying about having someone that can communicate with you. I think that's the key. Any coach can give you a program that they've had that worked for them, right? That's great. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I think the most important thing is that when you talk to somebody, if you're, thinking about having somebody as your coach, or if you're interviewing people, however you want to put the term, just have a 10, 15 minute conversation with them. If the person can't take 10, 15 minutes out of their day to talk to you, number one, that's your answer right there. Number two, you want someone that's going to be able to work with you, because what's going to work for you, James, may not work for me. And you need that feedback. So, you got to be able to communicate with your coach. Listen, we've tried this out for a couple of weeks. I don't think it's working. I don't think I'm getting results. Can we do something else? Or, during COVID, how many times did I have to say to you, listen, I don't have this equipment. I can't do this exercise. I do a different variation. Or, I didn't have dumbbells that went up to, 110. So I was using duct tape, and I was duct taping 10-pound plates to 100-pound dumbbells. You improvise. But, if you don't have that relationship, that back and forth, I mean, and it ain't that, you have to be accessible. You need a coach that's accessible to you 24/7, because nobody can expect that. But you know what? To the time that we've known each other, I consider you a friend as much as my coach. We have a rapport. We share a lot of the same values, which I think, is important. It's not necessary, but when you come from the same mindset, it kind of makes everything else easier. And to be able to communicate with somebody and have that back and forth, and you've adapted as much as I've adapted to you. You've adapted to me, and I think you know me pretty well. And you know right away when I'm getting in my own head, and you tell me, like, listen, stop thinking about it. Like right before the meet in December, you said that right on the phone to me, man. Dude, get out of your head. Just go. This is go time now. This is what you trained for, and you were right, and it works. So I think that's a huge part of what having a coach for me did for me. Is really, it takes a lot of your own self. I mean, we all have self-doubt, especially when it comes to training. And you can have training partners. Having a training partner is not having a coach, and I think that's what a lot of people get confused about. You can train with a good bunch of people. You don't mean they're coaching you. Because they're training with you, and they're also training. So and doesn't mean they're coaching you. So that and filming. As a you always want to see the films, and I used to be anti-film. I thought I was I thought I was going to be a narcissist. Why do I want to film myself? But you turned me around to that, because how many times did I say this felt like death? But then when you go to the video and it flew. That, right there. Everyone listening, that's the biggest thing of all. So if you think filming yourself is a waste of time, it's really not, because you can change your mental attitude so quickly. But it also helps the coach the most, because the coach, you can tell your coach whatever you want, but if he's not seeing it with his own eyes, then. But like for me, having a coach has definitely changed not only my outlook in training, but my outlook even in my own personal life. I'm not gonna lie, it's really affected me. So.
Well, and to expand on what Eric just said, as far as filming yourself during training and having it feel slow, just to kind of touch on that briefly. So when you're working out and you're warming up specifically, and sometimes, obviously on top set, you'll feel like it was really slow, and it might have been, but if you video it, you'll be able to see it from a third party perspective. And so when you watch it, you might actually see, you're going to see technique flaws, and if you know how to identify something like that, you'll see what's wrong with your lift to fix it. So you can't fix it if you don't see it. Just because you felt something doesn't mean it actually happened. That's weird. There's some phantom things that go on when you're lifting, you'll feel something pop and it wasn't what you think it was, or you feel a weakness somewhere and it's not. You'll see things that you don't really know in the moment, and you'll feel like it's taking forever to do the lift, and that's where the slowness comes in. But then if you watch it, it's happening in real time and you're seeing it faster, and it gives you confidence to either take another attempt, like in a meet, or if you're trying for a 1 rep max, or let's say you're going a 3 rep or a 5 rep and you're like, man, that last rep was really, really slow. I don't know if I can do another one. Well, you're going to see that the last rep was a little bit slower than the last 4, but maybe not as slow as you thought. It builds confidence to actually go and lay down for another set, either the next time you do it, or whatever, to take that extra rep or to put some extra weight on it to progress. Now, it's not meant to do an ego thing, like, oh, I can just do whatever I want. It's feedback. But if there's not a training partner there with you, which even if you do have that, seeing it for yourself, you believe it, because you might think that your training partner is just blowing smoke up your ass. That doesn't mean that's the case. But so that's just a real quick tidbit on the video. So I do that on literally every day. I mean, I'm videoing almost every set once it starts getting difficult. And I think the same way, especially if I'm in a public gym. These guys think I'm just a narcissist filming myself. It's like, I could care less what I look like. I am just doing this strictly for the sake of feedback. I delete the video as soon as I watch it because I don't need to see it again unless I need a feedback or something. But that's kind of what Eric was talking about, you guys, if y'all are wondering. So,
and one other thing about having a coach, for everyone listening out there, when I had my meet in July, when I had success at the meet, 6 days before my last bench night, when I was doing my openers, everyone, I went in and I was supposed to open with 420, and I failed so miserably at 420, almost crushed my skull. That's how bad this lift was. I mean, I think I immediately got on the phone with James, freaked out 6 days before meet. I'm failing at 420. I'm supposed to be opening with it. He was the most calm cucumber. I think you said something like, dude, you're right where you're supposed to be. You're fine. This is the process. We're going to adjust it on meet day. Went in, changed my opener, I think to 410. Felt like it flew. Second attempt, 430. Ended up with 450. So if I could sum up, the past 2 years of my experience of having a coach, that was like the pinnacle. Because if I didn't have that, if I didn't have you, if I was just, training on my own, I would have went, failed at 420 and probably, I think I almost wanted to bail out of the meet. I said, what am I even doing going to this meet in 6 days if I can't even do my opener? And, having a coach definitely, focused me. I listened to you. I said, you know what? He said, forget it. I'm forgetting. And I erased it. And boom.
So with that said, that leads perfectly into my next point. I wanted you guys to see some of these questions before we let this out. But so the training video was shot a while back. And for a couple of reasons that we wanted to post this video, the Q&A definitely, after the 450 at the minimum was done. Now, obviously, with the world and schedules and things like that, we pushed it back a little bit. But the idea was to do the training day, and if I remember correctly, because it's been a while, that was a 420 miss, or right at a 420 that was pretty sluggish on the training day. So that was before the 450 meet, obviously.
45 days before.
What?
It was only 5 days before.
So yeah, but the one where you came down, the
one that came down, yeah.
Before this,
yes.
So that weight is now a warm-up weight in a meet. Now, mind you, I get, like, if you were to do 420 today, it would probably feel very, very hard and may not even be possible because we're still 6 weeks out from a meet, and that's okay. To bring this full circle, I think the biggest lesson that I can say that you've learned, and I think we all learned this at some point, and I still learn it. I've done it enough times that I trust the process, and I have to rely on the trust because let's just, like, for me, I mean, I did 584 yesterday, and that's a warm up. I mean, I warm up with that more in the meet, but it felt heavy.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. That's a warm-up way. Thank you. Thanks. That's great.
No. But just say it. Like, and to each their own. But I'm dealing with it at my level. And so I didn't get all beat up about it. I would have 6 years ago. I would have been like, man, this is how in the world am I going to add 50 pounds or whatever the weight is, or be able to do the same weight faster on meet day. The thing is, your body isn't peaked, and that's the peaking process, which that's a whole other video. But that's where trusting and saying, okay, when I'm peaked, I go 450 plus. I warm up with 420. When I'm not peaked, my last warm up might be 365, and that's okay. I mean, that's just part of the process. Because if you stay at 400 year round, you're going to beat your body up, and you're going to feel strong, and you're going to be like, oh, any day of the week I can do 400 pounds, but your joints are going to be hurting all the time. You're never going to be recovered. You're never going to go 420, 450 because, and this is for the guys that are saying, oh, I'm stuck at 315. Every time I go into the gym, I do 315, and I can't ever get to 320. That's your problem. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results, when you really should be following a straight plan, even if it's just, okay, strip the weight off, get stronger, and then by the time you get back up to 315, that's your warm-up. And that's a hard thing to grasp. That's understanding a process, which if you don't know it, you don't know it. And I think that's ultimately, the goal of everybody is to get a little stronger, get a little better, especially at bench or whatever lift it is. And, strategically and I'll put these last two questions kind of combined because we touched on a little bit of them. And honestly, I don't want to have you repeat the same answer, but so the last one is, or the second last one is, how is your strength and recovery increased since working with a coach? So like how, you've gotten stronger, how has your recovery increased? And then I guess kind of a segue into that is, what would you say to somebody who's on the fence about getting a coach?
So strength and recovery was a learning experience, which is something I didn't trust in the beginning. I didn't even, like we were talking about D1, I didn't even know what it was. Yeah, I knew what it was, but I really didn't believe it. I didn't believe it worked for me, because when I came to you, I was doing my program, I had done a couple of meets with USAPL, had, success on a small level, so in my head, I believed that my process worked, so it was a transition to, trust your process and really relearn, so to say. But for the strength and recovery, I mean, my strength, I think, has overall, my whole body strength is just tremendous. I mean, physically, I look different. People that haven't seen me, if I see somebody I haven't seen in a year, they're like, holy crap. I think even when I came down, last February, I hadn't seen you in a year, and you would have said that I looked like I was bigger. I'm the same weight. I haven't, I've been trying to gain weight. I've been trying to gain up to 275 with what I compete. I for whatever reason, I can't do it. I'm stuck at 260, 265. This is what my body likes to be at. I've accepted it. I'm not eating. Maybe I'm not eating enough, but whatever. But the recovery, I think, the strength has just been, instrumental. But the recovery is hand in hand with that. I think without the recovery and the learning how to recover, learning how to sleep more, that's one thing that, you've always stressed. I think that's a struggle for probably a lot of people can relate out there, is not getting enough sleep, especially when, you got a busy life, you got a family, you work, you're trying to train. Sometimes, if you're squeezing 6-7 hours in, it's hard. But when you see the results in the long run, and you start seeing yourself getting stronger, you see your body changing, I mean, I'm not, I'm in good shape. I mean, I got a belly, I got a power belly. I tell people, I'm like, you know what? People are like, I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of good money in here, man. It costs money to get like this. Anybody can have a six-pack, starve yourself. You're going to have a six-pack. But, you want to work hard, be a powerlifter. So, it's going to cost you a lot more. But the recovery has, it's just changed my life. I mean, and I can't even stress that, the words can't even describe how much I've learned about strength and recovery in the past 2 years with the training. And that all comes from having, someone to guide you. I mean, we can all do, getting back to what you were saying about, videotaping yourself. I mean, I think the internet is great and Instagram is great, but it's also a curse because, there's so many people out there. You're watching them working out, and I'm guilty of it. I get stuck all the time. I'm seeing somebody there's just on one of the forums, I think we're both in, bench press something on Facebook. Somebody was posing asking a question. It was like 500 pounds, the new 315. Is that the new benchmark? Because you see so many people out there. You go on Instagram, there's a lot of people benching 500 pounds on Instagram. But you take that number, whether it's 15, 20, 30 guys you're watching on Instagram, and put that to the whole number, of people that are trying to do what we're doing and trying to get better. It's really not that big of a number. And
the other thing is how many of those are doing it in competition. I mean, that does matter because it's strict rules and the things like that. I mean, I know when I first started, my max went down almost 200 pounds my first meet because of rules of competition and the fact that you have 15 minutes to between flights and you can't lift when you want and you can't take another attempt and all that matters and that it does count for something. And when you're comparing apples and apples, that's the standard. And so, I mean, yeah, there's, let's just put a number out there. I don't know, 500 people, 200 people in the world benching 500 on Instagram, but officially there might be 100. So it splits it in half, but it doesn't help when you're watching it to sit there and go, man, am I weaker than all these guys? It just messes with you.
I'm watching like 26-year-old kids repping out, 515 on incline. I'm like, at like 220. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing wrong? It makes you doubt yourself. So if you're out there, and you're trying to do anything, take everything you watch on Instagram with a grain of salt. I mean, these guys are strong. I'm not going to take any of that away. But just like what James just said, I mean, how many, I always question it. I'm watching a guy doing 565 for, 4 or 5, but I've never seen him in a meet. I've never seen him, like there was just that big meet this weekend, the hybrid meet, I mean, why aren't they there? So you got to really, if you're you don't need, and this is leading into, about people that are on the fence for having a coach. You don't need a coach just if you, only, if you're looking for a coach because you want to compete, that's great. If you're looking for a coach to get yourself better, that's great too. You don't need to hire a coach because you're going to be a competitor. That isn't always the right reason. I think everyone can benefit from having a coach. No matter what your level, especially, I think most people, when you're starting out, you'll benefit the most because I think, I'll use the term a green person is much easier to coach than maybe somebody like me who's been, I've been training my whole life since I was 14 in a gym, probably wrong for, 99% of that. So you have bad habits, you got things you got to break. So I think that makes a coach's job harder. I mean, James would be able to answer that better than me because, he had to deal with me for the past 2 years, It's something, but I mean, if you're on the fence thinking about, whether a coach is right for you or whether if it's James or anybody else, the fact that you're even considering it, I think you already have your answer. And I don't think anyone could not benefit from having some kind of coaching, some kind of guidance, because, this is a hard sport, no matter, what level you're at. And no matter if you're powerlifting, if you're doing strongman, if you're doing CrossFit, but the rewards long-term for your mental stability, your emotional stability, your physical stability. I mean, I'm 50 years old, guys. I mean, I just came from my year physical with my doctor, 5'10", I weigh 260 pounds. And, the nurse looked at me like, oh, I bet your blood pressure's high. I never even met the woman before. I'm like, what do you need? She's like, well, you're 50 years old, you weigh 260. You probably get, I was like, I bet you I'm 123 over 60. And I was 124 over 67. Her mouth dropped. And my heart rate, I think resting was 57. My doctor comes in after the EKG. He's like, listen, he goes, I can lecture you about BMI. I can tell you, all the things you've been told every year that you've been coming to me for 20 years, that, you're morbidly obese according to the federal government because of your height, that you're going to die of a heart attack, because the government tells you so. But because of strength training, I'm in the best shape of my life, I feel, and I can't not take away and say that, a lot of it has to do with, especially the past 2 years in my coaching, having somebody to guide me, to talk to, and, whether or not, you feel that James is your coach or anybody else, I'll just speak from experience. As far as my experience with James is that, it's a two-way street, just like he said, he passed on somebody the other day. Sometimes it's not a right fit. That's very important to find out right away. But when you do find that out, and if you are working with him, he's in your corner, no matter what. He's 100% in your corner, and he wants you to succeed as much as you want to succeed. He's probably wants to double, and he's going to give you all the tools and advice that you could possibly ask for. And I've had great success, and I appreciate it. I had the idea last year. You watched the training video to come down. I threw it past him. COVID was just coming out. It was just ending. People were able to fly. I had some time, a little couple bucks. Things were cheap, and I threw it in. And he had that idea. He's like, yeah, that's great. And it was a great weekend, man. It was one of the highlights of my life. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I definitely appreciate the kind words, but I think a lot of guys are going to benefit. A lot of people are going to benefit from this. Just hearing it from yourself. I don't want to keep them too long. I want them to be able to reach out to you. If they have questions or anything, if you're open to that, if you want to share your social media, we're going to actually both be competing at the Arnold this year. This video is obviously going to drop before then. So if you guys are in the Columbus area or thinking about going up there, either one of us will be available to, I'm sure we're obviously competing. So not too much chatter at the competition, but at the Arnold, things like that. But if you want to share, your Instagram or whatever.
Yeah, my Instagram's Scully, SKULLYEB, on Instagram, and also on Facebook too. I'm not really a huge social media person. The Instagram thing is as far as I've gone. I haven't learned. My wife is into TikTok. I'm like socially dysfunctional sometimes with social media. So even setting up the Zoom call with you today, I had to have my wife and her friend do it because I had no idea what I was doing. So,
well, you're doing well enough. I know if you guys check out his Instagram, and I'll put a link in the description as well as just put it on the screen here for you guys, just for ease of use. But you can just check out his training videos from the past, and you can literally see. Obviously, you saw one training video for its entirety. But the day-to-day grind is what makes a lifter who they are. And that has nothing, like the day-to-day grind, I'm not in that. That's all Erik. So if you guys want to see what it's like in the day of the life, what the training lifts look like, what the frustration looks like, what the celebration looks like. Obviously, you got some family pictures on there, which I value the balance of all that. So if you guys, are not maybe the hardcore lifter and you guys got a family, you got a business, you got other obligations, which most of us do.
Yep.
That does not deter you from trying to get stronger. That's the only answer. But if you guys are watching this, you probably are interested in getting stronger or getting better at your lifting. Don't let life get in the way of that. But also don't let lifting get in the way of your life. And that's a big message that I put out, that you guys follow me to any degree. But I won't take up too much of your time, Erik. I really appreciate your time doing this video. You guys make sure, again, I know I said it before, but like this video if you liked it, share it with all your friends. Make sure you're subscribed because we're going to be doing a lot of these follow-up videos and things like that. But I definitely appreciate your time, Erik. And
I appreciate you. Thank you.
I have to do a follow-up video for sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll try to post something at the Arnold when we have some results, and hopefully we both have good days.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, you guys. We'll go ahead and tune off, and we'll check you guys later.
Thanks, everyone.